Fire, you want the air to pass up through, so larger chunks will allow more airflow. Once you got those big chunks on there, you can start putting some smaller stuff on there. And predominantly coke to start if you've got it. If you don't have it, you might need a few pieces of wood, maybe a bit more charcoal. Yeah, when you're starting to fire for the first time with coal, it takes some other fuels to get that ignited.
I like that holster.
Fire it up.
I made that.
The holster?
Oh yeah.
Now the rub with working in a traditional sense, meaning you're not using a gas forge, is that you are indebted to a cycle of fuel production. You cannot forge with coal. Coal has to be converted to coke. It doesn't give off enough heat to forge with when it's just burning itself, when the coal is just burning itself.
Like Adam was doing at the Blacksmithing class.
Right, yeah. So I use the back half of the fire pot for coke production and use the front half to work out of. And you're kind of always keeping a pile over here out of your way of your steel and your tools. And as soon as, you know, we have a bit more of a fire here, it'll start smoking up through there, and then you know your coal is starting to coke. And while you're forging, you're consuming coke, so you've got to be producing it on the backside to be ready to spill in. Here's our fire.
Good one.
Pokers are really good. Other than an actual rake or shovel to move the coal around, these are the next best tools because they allow you to kind of probe into the fire and lift up the coals and re-aerate and kind of loosen up. The coke will pack down into the pot over time. You're going in and out, you're packing the coals in there, and packing the coke into the pot is what holds the air back. Just give this a minute or so.
You have a good ventilation system.
This is a pretty good system, yeah.
And notice where it's located. He can put a large wheel straight up.
Does it talk to the side?
Like if you had a wrought iron wagon wheel to weld.
Yeah, well, the beauty of an open hearth is you've got that flexibility of having anything in any position. You're not working through a little hole that your exhaust is coming out through.
Talk about neutral, oxidizing, and carburizing.
Within here?
Yeah.
So you've got, it's important to remember with high carbon steel.
Correct.
You got this fire pot, it's kind of shaped like this. You've got your air coming in here. And so you know wherever there's air, there's going to be a region of this fuel burning that's highly oxidizing because the air's coming in. Here's your table. You'll have another region where the air's been consumed, so you'll have a region that's reducing, and it's generally at table level. Table levels is the best reducing fire for forging and for welding. If you get down too close, the coke hasn't consumed the oxygen yet in the burning process. And that's the brilliant thing about this is you have fuel, the coke, right up against your steel. So as air is blowing against it, that fuel is going to consume the oxygen rather than it hitting the steel. Steel obviously still does scale in a coal fire, but it's much thinner and more brittle. And then obviously if you lay your piece of steel on top of the coals, you're open to the atmosphere. It really won't heat efficiently, and it'll oxidize.
So you're trying to bury your steel at table level.
Table level, yeah, just think of table level.
You're going digging.
So we'll get some steel hot here. Fire pot is. Sometimes people dump so much coal in there, you kind of lose a boundary. Always know where one side is. I like to know where the front lip of the fire pot is, because if I know where the front of that is, I can get short heats. Also remember where the center of the fire pot is, because that's the hottest spot. It's the fist of the fire. It's right up over the cleaner breaker.
Which is centered on that dome.
Which is centered on the hood, yeah. And so if you're looking for a hot spot, you'll know where it is. Your cool spots are the margins around the fire pot. So if you want to keep something cool, push it through until you can feel the other side of the fire pot. It won't burn or get too hot there. It will actually be cooler there and hotter there. And that's really nice sometimes to be able to selectively heat.
So you could protect your tip and work the middle of the blade.
Easily, yeah. You can also kind of work at an angle up or down. You can clear the coke away on the far side, pass the piece through, just heat the middle, and if your piece is exposed, then it's not going to heat. Effective heating happens by having just a couple pieces of coke over this. If you can see it, it's not going to heat as effectively because that light and that heat is escaping. So I always like to keep the coke big to kind of cover things up. Yeah. So look how thin and crispy this is. If you had a heat this hot in the gas forge, it would be a whole sheet.
Oh yeah.
But in a coal forge, it's still scale, but it's crispy. It's flaky, like good pastry.
So let's change to put it in the steel when you hammer.
How much flame should you generally?
Flame?
Yeah.
It's based on how much coal's burning, how much stuff's in the coal, everything kind of. You'll always have, well, flame is the burning coal. You'll always see flame unless you remove the coal and have all just coke.
Yeah, coke is nearly smokeless.
See, yeah. See here, there's coke.
Okay.
And that doesn't flame, but we brought coal over the top, so it is flaming.
I was watching a fellow had.
You can buy pre-made coke.
Portable forge. It was on just little spindly legs with a little chimney, like a little chimera. And that thing was giving out no smoke whatsoever. So he must have been using coke.
Well, you can buy pre-bagged coke. Charcoal doesn't flame. You can forge with charcoal. You'll use 8 times the volume of charcoal to coal. So it's between 8 and 10 to 1.
It's just not as much carbon. There's not as much energy.
It's not as dense. Yeah. So I'm going to produce 1/2 of this. Fred wants a pair of these bi-directional tongs. So we're going to use 10 inches of 1/2 inch square. Start and forge those real quick.
Y'all don't use water in your fire.
You don't really need to. It's a good enough grade of coal that you don't have to water it.
Why did they water it? Is that
Dust, coal fines. It helps
solidify it?
It helps congeal and kind of hold the dust together.
Because I've cracked many a fire pot with water.
Yeah.
Cast iron doesn't like you'll hear it like a 40-10 shotgun when you.
And I think it's the hard.
Yeah, if it's that hot.
You run your forge.
Yeah.
Can I add some?